Today's NBA is full of rules, fines, and players trying to keep up appearances under the media's microscope. But what if I told you back in the day, there was Wilt Chamberlain, a man who didn't just break records, he shattered egos. Wilt would stroll into your arena, drop 50 points, sometimes even 100, like it was nothing. And he'd do it after partying all night, rolling in hungover. No warm-ups, no excuses, just pure destruction. He didn't care about the rules, he rewrote them. Wilt wasn't just dominant, he was the definition of savage. Today, we're diving into the wild stories and insane dominance that made Wilt Chamberlain the most savage player in NBA history. Let's get into it. Section 1. The 100-point hangover. March 2nd, 1962. Wilt Chamberlain etched his name in history by scoring an unimaginable 100 points in a single NBA game. You'd think he spent the night before mentally preparing or getting a solid 8 hours of sleep, right? Think again. Wilt was in New York City, partying until 6 a.m. with a woman. With no sleep and a hangover, he boarded a train to Philadelphia at 8 a.m., where he met friends for lunch before catching the team bus to Hershey, Pennsylvania. While most players would be resting or strategizing before a big game, Wilt spent his pre-game hours playing an arcade shooting game. By the time he stepped onto the court, there were no signs of fatigue, just sheer dominance. Over 4 quarters, Wilt unleashed an unstoppable offensive performance, dropping 100 points on the New York Knicks in a feat no one has come close to replicating. It wasn't just the scoring that made this legendary, it was how he did it. With zero sleep, a hangover, and a casual attitude, Wilt redefined what it means to perform under pressure. Section 2. Stronger than Arnold and Andre the Giant. Wilt Chamberlain's strength wasn't limited to dominating on the basketball court. It extended to feats that left even the world's strongest men in awe. While filming Conan the Destroyer, Wilt starred alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger and the towering Andre the Giant. What happened on set quickly became legendary. Arnold once declared, "Wilt was the strongest human being I've ever seen." The story goes that Wilt could effortlessly lift both Arnold and Andre, together weighing over 700 pounds with one hand. Let that sink in. 2 icons of strength and size, carried like grocery bags. But it wasn't just for show. In the weight room, Wilt's raw power was even more impressive. While elite bodybuilders maxed out at 120 pounds for tricep extensions, Wilt casually knocked out reps with 170 pounds. No struggle, no sweat. Wilt's athletic gifts transcended his 7 feet 1 inch frame. His strength wasn't just an asset, it was a force of nature that defied explanation. From Hollywood sets to gym floors, Wilt proved time and again that he wasn't just an athlete, he was a phenomenon. Section 3. From Harlem Globetrotter to NBA Pioneer. Before dominating the NBA, Wilt Chamberlain took an unconventional path, the Harlem Globetrotters. Instead of enduring another year of constant triple teams in college, Wilt skipped his senior season at Kansas and signed a $50,000 contract with the Globetrotters, a figure that exceeded most NBA salaries at the time. With the Globetrotters, Wilt honed his ball handling, passing, and showmanship, skills rarely seen in players his size. Touring the world, he entertained crowds with dazzling displays, all while sharpening the fundamentals that would make him unstoppable in the NBA. Wilt's year with the Globetrotters wasn't a detour, it was preparation. The experience helped him transition from a dominant college star to an NBA-ready force. By the time he entered the league, Wilt wasn't just another towering center. He was a refined, versatile athlete capable of revolutionizing the game. Section 4. Skipping college to blaze his own path. Wilt Chamberlain didn't wait for tradition to shape his future. He forged his own path. After dominating at Kansas, Wilt skipped his senior year, sidestepping constant triple teams, and signed a $50,000 contract with the Harlem Globetrotters, earning more than most NBA players at the time. The decision wasn't just bold, it was revolutionary. Wilt turned down the conventional college to NBA route to tour the world with the Globetrotters, showcasing not just his size, but his skill and flair. This wasn't just basketball. It was a show. Wilt dribbled like a guard, passed like a playmaker, and entertained like a performer, all while preparing to dominate the pros. His move sent a message. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't going to be boxed in by anyone's expectations. Section 5. Dominance across every sport. Wilt Chamberlain didn't just dominate basketball. He conquered nearly every athletic endeavor he touched, including track and field and volleyball. While at the University of Kansas, Wilt decided to join the track team on a whim. No practice, no specialized training, just pure, unmatched talent. He excelled in events that required both explosive power and speed. Wilt outjumped trained high jumpers, leaped over 50 feet in the triple jump, and threw the shot put an astonishing 56 feet. If that wasn't enough, he sprinted the 100-yard dash in 10.9 seconds, faster than many sprinters today. Over 3 consecutive years, he helped Kansas secure Big 8 championships in track and field, proving his skills weren't confined to the basketball court. When Wilt retired from basketball, did he slow down? Not even close. Instead, he conquered volleyball. As president of the International Volleyball Association, Wilt led his team to an all-star game win, took home MVP, and became one of the rare athletes enshrined in multiple sports Hall of Fames. Section 6. Summers at Kutsher's Resort. Wilt Chamberlain's off-seasons were anything but ordinary. As a teenager, he worked at Kutsher's Resort in New York's Catskill Mountains, a hotspot for celebrities like Muhammad Ali and Mickey Mantle. But Wilt wasn't your typical bellhop. He used his massive 7 feet 1 inch frame to hand luggage directly to second-floor windows, leaving guests both amused and amazed. Of course, Wilt couldn't resist making a statement on the basketball court. During his time there, he played a one-on-one game against college star B.H. Bourne, who had just been named MVP of the NCAA Finals. Wilt didn't just win, he crushed him, 25-10. Bourne was so demoralized, he decided to quit pursuing an NBA career altogether, becoming a tractor engineer instead. Even Red Auerbach, the legendary Celtics coach, noticed Wilt's talent at Kutsher's and tried to recruit him. But Wilt wasn't about to let anyone else dictate his future, not even one of basketball's greatest coaches. Section 7. A nightclub icon. If you think Wilt was just a basketball star, think again. He was a cultural icon. In the 60s and 70s, he owned Big Wilt's Small's Paradise, a nightclub in Harlem where the elite came to party. Muhammad Ali, Sammy Davis Jr., Malcolm X, they all came to the hottest spot in town, where Wilt didn't just host the scene, he ruled it. This wasn't just a nightclub, it was Wilt's empire. The place had roller skating waiters and air conditioning, a flex no one else had. Wilt brought together sports, music, and culture, making the club a legendary hotspot. It wasn't just about the money or the business for Wilt. It was about creating a place where his savage energy could shine. He wasn't the type to sit in the background. He was the center of attention, commanding the room the moment he walked in. In Big Wilt's, it wasn't just about the music or the food. It was about Wilt's undeniable presence. Section 8. The comeback that almost happened. Even in his 40s, Wilt Chamberlain had NBA teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers begging him to return. At 45, they believed he could still dominate, and honestly, they weren't wrong. Wilt was in incredible shape, and the idea of him stepping back onto the court had fans buzzing. But Wilt wasn't interested in returning unless it was on his own terms. Reflecting on his career, he famously told Michael Jordan, "The only difference between us is the NBA catered to you. They never loved me like that." Despite shattering nearly every record in the game, Wilt always felt the league didn't give him the recognition he deserved. The fact that teams were still after him decades after his prime is proof of his unparalleled greatness. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't just ahead of his time, he was untouchable, even by time itself. Now here's where it gets wild. Wilt's life was packed with stories you wouldn't believe. Let's dive in, and if you're loving these tales, Don't forget to hit that like button. Section 9. The Savage Legacy of Wilt Chamberlain. Imagine this. Wilt Chamberlain, with his insane height and body, was ready to step into the boxing ring with none other than Muhammad Ali. Sounds wild, right? But Wilt didn't just think about it, he actually signed the contract. In 1971, he was fully committed, ready to face off against one of the greatest boxers of all time. Ali's trainer, Cus D'Amato, even thought Wilt had the physical tools to give Ali a real fight. That's how bold Wilt was. Of course, the fight never happened after Ali lost to Joe Frazier, but the fact that Wilt was willing to take on a boxing legend speaks volumes. He wasn't content just being the best basketball player in the world, he wanted to prove he could dominate in any arena. It wasn't about ego, it was about taking on challenges others wouldn't even dare. Basketball, volleyball, boxing, it didn't matter. Wilt wasn't just showing up, he was ready to make history. Now, off the court, Wilt had some legendary moments too. Like that time he was in an elevator with a shorter guy who asked, "How's the weather up there?" Wilt, without missing a beat, spits on his head and replies, "Dry." "How about down there?" Classic Wilt, always ready with a savage comeback. And then there's the rumor that Wilt slept with over 20,000 women. Whether it's true or not, it perfectly sums up the larger-than-life personality he carried everywhere. Wilt wasn't just about sports, he was a force, pushing limits and living a life most couldn't even dream of. He didn't just play the game, he rewrote it. So, to wrap it all up, Wilt Chamberlain wasn't just an athlete, he was a force of nature. From scoring 100 points after a sleepless night to dominating volleyball like he owned the sport, Wilt thrived on challenges most wouldn't dare attempt. Whether humiliating opponents on the court, nearly stepping into the ring with Muhammad Ali, or delivering savage comebacks, Wilt lived life on his own terms. He wasn't just breaking records, he was breaking expectations at every turn. Stories like these remind us why Wilt remains one of the most fascinating figures in sports history. Want more legends like this? Stick around, we've only scratched the surface.